Dana White just announced 5 fights for UFC Abu Dhabi, and let me tell you, some of these matchups are absolutely crazy. Now, this is a fight night taking place in the first weekend of August. Good Lord, man. I saw this video, and I was shocked. Like, how do they even come up with these matchups, and how do they actually get them booked? Okay, we're going to go through it, and then towards the end of the video, I'm going to give you my early picks and a little bit of a description of why those are my early picks. Let's do it.
Fight night, Abu Dhabi, Etihad Arena, Saturday, August 3rd. In the main event, you have the best prospect in the bantamweight division in number 10 ranked Umar.
Best prospect in the bantamweight division. That's a pretty big thing to say, considering how good the bantamweight division is. And that Umar hasn't faced, I don't think, has he beaten a ranked contender at this point? I don't even know.
Taking on number 2 ranked Corey Sandhagen in what is...
Okay, so Umar versus Corey Sandhagen. We kind of knew this was coming. It was a fight that was booked last year, and it pretty much seemed like it was booked, but it just wasn't officially announced by Dana yet. He announced
the number 1 contender fight at 100.
Number 1 contender fight. That's a big deal. So I would assume if O'Malley fights Merab, then the winner of this gets the winner of that fight.
135 pounds. In the 5-round co-main event,
Nick Diaz. 5-round. That is a big distinction there. 5-round co-main event. That could be big. But Nick Diaz is back? Well, I didn't even know this dude was really going to make a comeback. I mean, the last time we saw him was Robbie Lawler. And that was not a good fight for him. I thought he was just going to be done after that. How old is he now? 40 years old? 39, 40?
Diaz is returning to the welterweight division.
They had to bring up a highlight from the first Robbie Lawler fight that took place in like 2000. I mean, look at the chicks back here. They're not even recognizable.
The fight number 14 ranked Vicente Luque and what?
Luque's back. Now I kind of have some leverage, I guess. I mean, I know some people that know Luque, right? And we know that Luque kind of quit his last fight, and he actually kind of admitted that too. So apparently he's been training really hard.
It's certain to be an absolute war.
Luque versus Nick Diaz. That is a matchup I would never put together in some type of fever dream. Like, that is a legit fever dream matchup.
Number 4 ranked Chito Vera is returning after his title fight against O'Malley.
After his title fight. After his title fight where he got absolutely
in March to take on former world champion and number 6 ranked Davison Figueiredo.
We kind of knew this matchup was happening too. Chito versus Figgy, 3-round matchup, so that would tend to favor Figgy because Chito seems like he takes off the first couple rounds.
Figueiredo is undefeated since moving up to 135.
Figgy's undefeated at 135. Former champion at 125. Has a win over the champion Pantoja. He's fighting Chito.
And is coming off a finish over Cody Garbrandt at UFC 300.
Pretty easy to say he's looked a little bit better as of recently.
Number 7 ranked Mackenzie Dern is facing number 10 ranked Lupe Godinez in a fight that features 2 of the most active strikers in the 115.
Active strikers? Mackenzie Dern's an active striker? Kind of a stretch there, Dana.
Pound women's division. And opening the main card is a fight between the...
Okay, so Dern versus Lupe Godinez. Kind of like the matchup. It's women's MMA, so I mean, it's really not that exciting, but...
Legend Tony Ferguson moving up.
Tony Ferguson, once again a highlight from back in the day before they had fight shorts where you couldn't have sponsors on them.
Up to 170 pounds and what could be his final fight to take on Michael Chiesa.
Michael Chiesa choking out Ali Aquinta back in like 2016. I mean, this is a throwback card. Like, this matchup itself is wild. Then you add in Nick Diaz versus Luque, crazy. Michael Chiesa versus Tony Ferguson. Tony's going up to 170. Chiesa, he's got to be like, what, 38, 39, somewhere around there? Maybe 37. He's older. It's not a bad matchup for Tony. You know, like, you don't really want to give him a guy that could beat the shit out of him again or an upcoming prospect. So I guess this is a little bit better for Tony.
Ladies and gentlemen, August 3rd from Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi. I will see you there.
August 3rd, Abu Dhabi. Let's get into the picks here. Started with the main event. I'm going to go with Umar Nurmagomedov, man. I kind of ripped on him because he hasn't beaten anybody in the rankings yet, but I don't think Corey Sandhagen's wins as of recently have really, aged that well. Like Chito Vera didn't look good against Sean. Granted, that's Sean. And Corey did everything he needed to do in that fight. Pretty much won that 50-45 in my opinion. Maybe 49-46. But then like Rob Font, he just grappled him up. Now, I know Corey's grappling is really solid. But I think Umar's is just going to be a little bit better. I think Umar can handle himself on the feet as well. It is 5 rounds, so that's going to be a lot different for Umar. But, bro, I'm not going against a Nurmagomedov in Abu Dhabi. I just can't do it. It just makes sense that this is a fight that they have wanted for a long time. It's a number 1 contenders fight. They want to get Umar to that title, man. They want to give the O'Malley Nurmagomedov matchup because that's like the new Conor, right? They want to get Sean as the new Conor and then the new Khabib in 135. It's a matchup they want to make, but of course, O'Malley's got to go through Merab first, which is going to be a tall task. Co-main event, 5 rounds. I just don't see how Nick Diaz, in his current form, can pull off a win here against Vicente Luque. I mean, if Luque realizes that he quit on himself in his last fight and he has been training so hard, from word that I got, is after Luque quit against Joaquin Buckley, he was in the gym like the Monday after, like 2 days after, just going hard. Love to hear that. I got skepticism on both sides because technically Nick Diaz kind of quit in his last fight against Robbie Lawler. He's been off for a while. Luque just quit against Joaquin Buckley. 2 guys both quit. So you can't really have confidence in either guy that they're going to go in there and just lay it all out on the line. I'm shocked that Nick Diaz is back. Maybe he needs the paycheck or what. This is a matchup that's like just super weird because you're throwing him a ranked guy here in Luque. I believe he's ranked. Like 13 or 14. I mean, that's a tough thing to do. Throw him in there against a ranked welterweight. Might not end well. But, Nick Diaz's boxing is always solid. He's going to have a ton of volume. And Luque is very hittable. So, yeah, Nick Diaz has a chance, but there's no way I can go into this like picking him, it should be Luque all day here. You never know. Technically, this is like the opening fight on the main card, but it's the 3rd most intriguing matchup to me. That's why I put it here. Tony Ferguson, Michael Chiesa. I'm throwing the old Tony Ferguson a bone here. I'm going to take him for an early pick, but I'm telling you right now, there's no confidence in it. Absolutely none. Because he's going up a weight class. I know he's fought at 170 before, but I got to give him a little bit of a chance here because he's not fighting an up-and-coming guy. He's not fighting a guy that can piece him up on the feet. Michael Chiesa is not exactly the most explosive, fast guy. He's more of a grappler, right? And if he's going up against a grappler, I'll give him a chance. Chiesa loves to get fights to the ground, and when he doesn't successfully land those takedowns, the dude gets darsed every single time. And it's against Kevin Holland, against Vicente Luque. The dude gets darsed, okay? So I'm going to take Tony Ferguson for a pick, but yeah, not high confidence at all. It's a fight that Chiesa should win. He's a little bit, Tony's just way past his prime. That like anybody that he fights, they're going to be a little bit more in their prime. But Chiesa's not in his prime. He's way past the hump. So that's why I'm kind of giving Tony a little bit of a chance here. Davis and Figueiredo, Marlon Chito Vera. I don't see how I could ever have faith in Chito Vera ever again in his career. If you watch my video on the top 10 most overrated fighters in the UFC, Chito Vera was number 2. I think he's super overrated. Like the wins that he has are against guys that are 35 or older. And those are his last 5 wins. Now, granted, he's going up against Figueiredo, who I think is like 34, 35, maybe even 36. I don't know. Gonna have to check that. But I do think Figueiredo at 135 is a problem because he's super fast, still strong, still has a great grappling game. We saw it in the last fight. And he's got big power. And he's durable. Like, who's knocked out Davis and Figueiredo? Not many. And I would expect Davison to win the volume battle here. Chito, he's got power, but it just never really gets going until like round 2 or 3. It's a 3-round fight. I think that favors Figgy a lot. So that's why I'm taking Davis and Figueiredo. He just looks so much better to me over, he had the quadrility with Moreno. And then he goes back, goes to 135, picks up a win against Rob Font, looks really good there, and then picks up a win against Cody. I think he's just on a little bit better of a trajectory here. There's no reason that Cheeto should have got that title shot, okay? You can't really give him credit for that. He didn't deserve it, for one, and then he got in there in the cage, and he looked terrible. So I'm not giving him any credit for that. I'm taking Figgy. And then finally, the women's fight. I think this is a solid matchup for Loopy. She's got great boxing. Mackenzie Dern has absolutely terrible stand-up. And I think Loopy can handle herself in the grappling department. Like, Mackenzie, for how good of a jiu-jitsu practitioner she is, she hasn't really been finding finishes at or against, like, ranked opponents. Lupe Godinez is definitely top 15, if not top 5, in the UFC, in my opinion. She had a tough fight her last time out against Verna. Verna, I think, is a much stronger wrestler and a really sticky grappler on the mat. Mackenzie Dern's going to be really solid if she gets up on top, and she's going to be dangerous if she's playing the guard game. But the wrestling, I don't think is very good. I mean, you look at her last fight against Lemos. Lemos has terrible takedown defense. She could get taken down by a gust of wind. Mackenzie Dern still lost that fight. Lemos has better power than Loopy, but I think Loopy should be able to piece her up on the feet and get a win here. Those are the picks. UFC Abu Dhabi, August 3rd. It's going to be a good card. I mean, it's one of those cards. It's like a throwback card. It's a fever dream card. Like one of these cards that you wouldn't even expect to happen. It's going to be a solid card. Fight night, again, I don't know when the time is, but hopefully it's an earlier one in the day. I kind of like those. But let me know your thoughts. Crazy fights, man. Tony Ferguson, Michael Chiesa, Nick Diaz, Vicente Luque. Would have never guessed that was going to happen. Crazy stuff. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, like and subscribe. Till next time, Hey Jab Picks. We out.